Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Administrator McCarthy. Thank you for being here today. I'm sure it's not a surprise to you when I tell you that many of my farmer constituents are very worried and upset over the number of regulations coming out of the EPA that negatively impact them. Do you intend, first of all, are you cognizant that there are those concerns by American farmers, and is there anything that you're planning to do to address that perspective that they have of your agency and its regulations?
Well, yes, I am aware. There is a lot of work that we need to do to establish a stronger trust relationship between the agriculture community and EPA. I've been working hard for the last few years, trying to get out to farms, meeting with every farmer, rancher, and forester that wants to sit down. I'm trying to work through the issues and listen closely and learn.
Are there any fundamental changes that you think that you're going to be able to make, or that you plan to make, that would remedy or alleviate some of those concerns?
Well, implement the laws as effectively as I can. As I noted, we have a number of voluntary programs that we're initiating back and forth. We have new advisory groups being started. I think the most important thing we can do is listen to one another and try to identify the path forward that meets our shared goals, because we certainly share the goals of wanting to protect the environment.
Well, I agree. I think that listening is a good first step, but you've also got to be prepared to act.
Yes.
And it may mean act in a different way. But anyway, I'm glad you mentioned volunteer programs. I believe we need to encourage programs that provide farmers with the resources they need to work with states, and not the EPA, on water quality problems. Congress did not give the EPA regulatory authority over family farmers. I'm concerned that the EPA is moving away from voluntary programs that have verifiable results and instead intends to create burdensome regulations. Do you agree that voluntary programs are important and an effective way to help reduce pollution, or is the EPA trying to expand its regulatory authority over non-point source pollution?
Absolutely, I agree that voluntary programs, as well as technical support and funding support from the federal government, is an essential way in which we need to move forward and work together, and that is the vast majority of our relationship.
Okay. Where in the Clean Act did Congress give the EPA authority to regulate sustainability of agriculture, non-production practices on farm fields? I don't see that precedent anywhere.
Under the Clean Air Act, is that what you said, sir? There is, I don't not know whether the word sustainability is written into any law. I think it was an outcome of understanding that we need to understand the life cycle and all of the challenges associated with clean air and other requirements that are being placed on our constituencies, including farmers, ranchers, and foresters. And it was an open dialogue to understand how our rules can enhance not just their health and our health, but their viability as a sector. I think that's what sustainability is intended to make sure, that we're thinking about this in a common sense, holistic way, not a narrow media by media approach.
I agree, but it didn't give the legal authority to the EPA. What I'm looking for is, do you see in that act the legal authority to regulate sustainability?
We do not regulate sustainability. We do regulate pollutants under the Clean Air Act, one of which are greenhouse gases. If that's what you're referring to, sir, that is because under the Clean Air Act, the Supreme Court clearly told us that we had to look at greenhouse gases as a potential pollutant, and if we found that they were an endangerment, then we had to take appropriate action. That's what we're actually doing.
That's the precedent I'm looking for. Could you have somebody on your staff get me a copy of that Supreme Court interpretation?
Absolutely.
I appreciate that. And finally, GAO released a legal decision that the EPA was violating publicity or propaganda and anti-lobbying provisions contained in previous appropriations bills.
Yeah.
And your agency, according to them, has been using social media for covert propaganda. What is your side of that?
Well, as you might guess, we don't agree. We do not believe that we have violated any provisions. The GAO looked at, thousands of social media that we actually do every day, because that's how we do our outreach and education. That's all that they were. They found 2 instances that raised questions for them. We disagree with the decision, but we certainly are working with OMB to make sure that we have followed every one of their procedures and we do everything we need to do.
Thank you, ma'am. I yield back.
Thank you.